My name is Avan, and I'm happy to host you for the first panel today, The Path to the Digital Decade. And I would like to introduce our panelists. May I introduce you? We have first Mr. Iwan Hindi, Deputy Minister and Head of the Department of Information Technology of the Kyrgyzstan Regional Government. Then we have Mr. Jeff Lee, Vice President of Digital Power, Marketing and Solutions Department of Huawei Middle East. And then we have Mr. Islam Al-Bayati, if I have that right, Chief Financial Officer at FIB, and that stands for the First Iraqi Bank. Let's begin and cut to the chase, Mr. Diwa. I have many questions for all three of you, but I would like to start with first general questions, and then we go more into detail. Firstly, we all know that the KRG is one of the main priorities for the Kyrgyzstan regional government at the moment is digitalization. So if you may tell us, please, what is digital transformation? Tell our audience, what does that mean? What does it entail? And what is the KRG's vision for this?
I'm not sure if everyone is hearing me. We have voice. Dr. Nelson is doing like this and this voice not coming. Can you hear me? Okay. So with the digital transformation, up until 2005 and before the era of social media, we used to apply technology to analog processes that we had in the government. So basically we were not re-engineering or not rethinking the system. We would just add electronic forms and interfaces to what we had. With the digital transformation, what we have in mind is reimagining the services where the citizen or the customer is actually at the heart of it. So whatever we design, whatever we develop is built around the usability and the human centricity of the system so that the users feel themselves always at the center. And of course, mobility is a very important aspect of it so that they have access to the services from any device at any time, at any location. That's what they do. And we can talk more later about how KRG emerges.
But first, I still have some more questions in the beginning, Mr. Hewan, because we also would like to know why, from your perspective, or from the government, let's say, why is it so important for Kyrgyzstan to be running a fully digitalized government? Yes. I was asking, why is it so important for the government to run a fully digitalized government, let's say, to be fully digitalized, to become an e-government?
So this basically goes back to the drivers of digital transformation that we have been speaking about so many times. The first driver is the citizen satisfaction. So compared to the private sector, in the private sector, the companies are delivering such a good service to the customer. So they elevate the expectation of the citizens and they expect the same level of service from the government to be served. So citizen satisfaction and expectation is the first driver. The second is financial. We need, especially in countries like Iraq, countries who do not have enough access to a lot of money that they can spend as they want. We need to be efficient. So budget shortfalls and efficiency is the second driver of digital transformation. The third is to be prepared for things that could happen. It's like a crisis management. So preparedness for the crisis is the third important driver of the digital transformation. And the fourth factor is the data, accurate data for decision making. To know, to be 100% sure how many hospitals, how many roads, how many schools need to be built where. These decisions should come from data. And to harness data, you need to have digital systems in place. So basically, this is why we do digital transformation. In every government in the world, the priority is not just different.
Thank you very much. I want to still go into a little bit more about the systems and the services that the department provides or works on. So I would like to understand because we understand that the department is working to provide digital services. Can you tell us a little bit about what those systems are about, what the projects are, and how do these systems benefit the government as well as the public citizens?
The Department of Information Technology, which spearheads the KRT's digital transformation, we focus on four major areas. These major focus areas are actually in line with the latest trends. We can have a look at it on the World Bank's website. So basically our focus areas are the same as the GovTech focus. So we focus on first, core government services, which means if you want to have the whole of government approach toward digitalization, you need to have core government functions fully digitalized. That translates into one, have a nationwide digital identity and system in place. Second, have a control and grip over financial information management systems. Three, human resource management system, public investment and public procurement management systems, and so on. The second focus area is public service delivery. Once you start deliver services to the citizens, they should be delivered as such that are abiding by the rules of mobility. You have to make sure that you have inclusion. Digital gaps are not there. Digital literacy is considered. And there are multi-channel service delivered to the citizen. So those who do not have internet access, or those who are not digital literate enough to use the system, are also able to use it. The third focus area is citizen engagement. By building tools like, this is something to be we recently developed, by the way, for example, citizen complaint and feedback system to the government. These are important tools for strengthening democracy and the citizens to be able to raise their voice and feel that they are included. So basically, civic tech is an important focus area. And the last part is the GovTech enablers. Basically, in every government institutions, we need to build a digital capability and digital capacity for them to be able to implement the government initiatives. These are our four focus areas.
Thank you very much. I think we'll go a little bit more into detail later on. So I'll come back to you with much more questions. I would like to go to our next panelist, which is Mr. Jeffsey. Thank you for joining us today. I would like to start first with, if you could give us a brief about your unit and the unit that you work on. So, because you are the Vice President of the Digital Power Marketing and Solutions Department, which is part of the Digital Power Business Unit of Huawei for Middle East. So, can you tell us and our audience, please, what does this department focus on, and what does the digital power business mean for Huawei?
Yes, actually in Middle East we focus on three main domains for the business. First is for the side power. Yes, okay. First is for the side power, because we have lots of businesses with different operators around the world. So actually for their side power, we provide the new technology for their site expansion or network expansion, provide digital power to their site. This is the first part. Second part, we have different partners in the vertical industries, such as government industry, such as any other ministers, the health minister, the education minister. They maybe deploy their own data center for themselves. So actually, if they deploy data center, then we will provide the digital power system for their data center. Actually, this is the second part. Second and third part, we provide the sonar system. Actually, for the PV, smart PV system, we have lots of the businesses providing the sonar system, especially in UAE and in Saudi Arabia. So mainly three domains for these three part of businesses, and for the operators, for the vertical industries, for the governments. Yes, that's all.
I understand. So we can say that it's categorized into three parts, but I also wanted to incorporate this next question with your first question, because it might be relative, and that is, if you can tell us how this digital power business is involved in the Middle East? Because we know that this digital power business unit is particularly, it has a part for the Middle East, but are some of the ways that you're involved? You talked about 3D categories. If you can, for example, give examples for each one of them where you've been involved in.
Okay, I'm willing to raise one example. We have deployed our solar panel system in the UAE. We call it the Red Sea project. Actually, just signed last year with the UAE government. Actually, from this solar panel system, we provided the power for more than 1,000 homes for them, for the UAE. So actually, I think another important thing, what can digital power do for our partners, for the government, is that it can increase the power efficiency. Actually, before, maybe we are using the acid battery. Now we're promoting the lithium battery. And second, because we have rich experiences in the ICT industries, we have rich experiences in the algorithm level. So that means we can have the battery system, the power system, to maximize the power efficiency and to use our own algorithm. Actually, we have, I think, more than 1,600 patents until last year in this power industry. So that's what we can do for them. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Very impressive. We will come back with more questions to you, but first I would like to now go to our third panelist. Thank you for joining us today, Mr. Islam. So you're the Chief Financial Officer, if I'm not mistaken, at the FIB, which is the First Iraqi Bank. Could you tell us to our audience who may not have heard about it, and I believe, without giving too much away, because I believe you're launching the bank tomorrow at 2 p.m. You could maybe address that a little bit more in your brief. But can you give us an idea of what the First Iraqi Bank entails? What does it mean, and what kind of services do you have, and how and when, since when was it established?
For sure. I don't know if any of the audience can hear me. So, like you mentioned, the official launch of the bank will be tomorrow at 2 on this stage. But without giving too much detail and to offer a little bit of tease about FIB, we are a digital bank, and we're proud to say that we're here to digitalize and revolutionize the banking experience in the country, specifically in Kurdistan. Our approach is to be a consumer-focused bank and treat banking services as a fundamental necessity to the overall ecosystem of the human life in Kurdistan. And that is done through digitalizing the entire experience, from opening the account to transacting.
Okay, thank you very much. But I also have another question for you first, before we move on, and that is, I would like to understand, because the First Iraqi Bank is a digital banking service, I believe the first of its kind in Kurdistan and Iraq as a whole. But how do you see the idea of digital banking yourself coming around for public citizens? Do you see that something that is being picked up quickly by the citizens, something that is familiar already, or not at all familiar, and that it's something completely new?
Honestly, we've been astonished and blown away by the feedback we've been getting from our customers during the pilot program. The level of service that we're offering compared to the expectations, unparalleled, whether that's on the retail side, on the individual account side, and whether that's on the business account side as well. And it only kind of solidified our idea that this service is much, much needed. Now, the country itself and the citizens are lacking this kind of service. And whether we need to go through the normal journey that other countries went to, or kind of have that leapfrog, is kind of the question. So instead of us doing it the conventional way we decided to expedite the digitalization process of banking services and to go full digital from the offset. That enabled us to offer a platform today that is highly scalable and able to accommodate different kinds of services that the client needs today, and also build an entire ecosystem around it. So the customer is at the center of the service, and we're looking at different branches of their life and how we can digitalize that aspect and offer not just conventional banking services that you can get from the normal banking sector, but also transactional banking, which is quite important. And that alone opens up the opportunity for so many different things. Like my esteemed panelist from the IT mentioned, having that ability will compound over time and will give people the ability to not just be transparent and fast in their approach, but also to get the extra benefit that digital services offer. And that's kind of at the core of it. It's a compounding effect. So we're building a system today that will pay us a lot of dividends over time by using the digital platform, and that's the beauty of it. You build it once, and then the benefit will keep on flowing, and so you can focus on enhancing it as time goes by.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Islam, for the brief explanation. We have quite various different topics here, but we're trying to incorporate all three of them. We have the government's digitalization, digital transformation, let's say, and then we have digital power and clean energy, and then we have digital banking. Quite interesting topics, but it's interesting to see all these three form together. So I would like to come back to you, Mr. Hiwa, because one of the services that I believe DIT is working on is UPN. I think maybe one of the most important services that you're working on, and that's for our audience stands for unique personal number, correct? Okay, so I would like to focus on this for a moment, because as we understand, unique personal number is quite new. I think what you're working, it's not out there for the public, I believe, yet. So that's why I want to understand what it is exactly, maybe for our audience to understand this a little bit better. How does this benefit the KRG's vision on digital transformation? And at which state is it at the moment? And if you can also tell us, incorporate in your answer, how and when will the public citizens will be able, such as myself for instance, be able to have access to this service?
Thank you so much. I'm still struggling with so much background noise to make sense of what I say before anyone else. So I hope you understood the question correctly. And I hope the voice on your side is better than my side, then it is fine. I earlier mentioned that one of our major focus areas are the government core services. And top on the list in the government core services is a digital identity. UPN stands for Unique Personal Number. It's basically a digital identity number of every citizen. If we want to allow any of you to access any government service, the back-end systems need to be able to verify the user that it says the user is. If I want to log into a system, there should be a mechanism in the background. Every country that has made it to be digitally excellent, they have a digital identity or a digital identity number for every citizen, and this number is not repeated. It's unique to that person. That's one thing. And issuing that means you have to make sure that the person's identity is 100% unique. Iraqi documents, identification documents are so weak, you cannot rely on these documents for that purpose. So we needed to biometrically register people to make sure that person is only once in the system, and then we assign a number to them. Once you have this one, the second system means you need to have this authentication in place, or essential authentication system.
At the IT, we have worked on creating the identity. We have also worked on creating this authentication system. I encourage you to visit our booth, see for yourself how you can enroll, how you can get a UPN, how you can log in using that UPN. It is all on display. It's not that we talk about it, we have implemented it. It's a matter of rollout. And we start first with the government employees because they're registered and there are close to people who get paid by the government. There are close to 1.2 million people. And if successful, then we can easily roll it out to the entire population because entire population is our target. We have built a system called Population Information System. Once complete, you will no longer need to have even censuses. So basically you have real data about your population. The vision is when a kid is born at the hospital, the kid will be assigned a unique digital number before even the kid has a name. And these things are actually at advanced stages, and that's why I really encourage you to visit our booth, enroll for yourself, see how it works.
That's great. So everyone, you'll find the booth over there near the entrance. I believe to make this into reality or to see in the reality how it really works, I believe they can all see it there. So it's like you said, it's not all talks. But to move forward, and actually I would like to stay on the topic or come back to the topic of digital banking a little bit because we spoke of digital banking and to incorporate that a little bit with the government. I would like to know if the government has initiated or will initiate anything on digital banking. Is there any sort of cooperation with any of the banks or with the first Iraqi bank, let's say?
Yeah. One of the digital principles of our strategy is to eliminate the barriers for private sector to be able to help the government. We cannot build a digital Kurdistan on our own. No government can. We need a very active participation from private sector to do so. For that to happen, we need to eliminate the barriers that is in front of us. One of the problems that we in the government have is the lack of a proper fintech to make the transactions between governments and citizens and between government institutions possible. For example, sometimes the amount of money that we need to pay to collect an electricity bill is more than the amount itself, which means it's simply not economical, we just ignore it. If every citizen had a digital identity, and if they had a digital wallet of their choice, of course we will have a short list. Of course we tend to, one of the best providers is FIB. One excellent provider is NAS Wallet. If people have these wallets, and it goes also to the others, I mean, there are other providers that I just forgot to mention them maybe, but if every citizen has a wallet, and if every citizen has a digital identity, it means we can easily interact, pay people, and get paid by people, which creates actually a digital economy, because once people receive their monies in their wallets, they can spend it on other merchants or other stores that are digitally available to sell any services or goods to them.
Yes.
So yeah, we are integrating solutions into what we do. For example, for the border management system, we have developed a system for Ministry of Interior, and the entire system for to get e-visa or for the sponsors to pay the government, we completely rely on FIB for this purpose.
That's great. Thank you for that explanation, Kakiwa. But before we stay on the topic of digital banking, we will come back to that later. I want to go to Mr. Jeff because I would like to hear from you, Mr. Jeff. How do you see, from your own perspective perhaps, or from the department that you're working on, how do you see digital transformation in general in the Middle East, and perhaps also if you have any insights on the Kurdistan region and Iraq as a whole, we would love to hear that.
Okay. I think before the topic, because Mr. Hewa already invited all of the guys to their booth, so I think I should also invite all of the guests to our booth, also near the entrance, because actually, when you talk about the digital transformation, it's a very huge topic. You can apply this one in different industries, in vertical industries, in operators related to every person. So actually, in our booth, also we have the MBB, the mobile network for the operator, use the digitalization, use our innovation technologies. We also have the fixed network about the fiber to home, fiber to everyone, fiber to home. That is fixed network, also use the digital transformation. And also including the power system, including the green side power, including the green DC power. So all of these solutions in our booth, so I will invite everyone to go to our booth and then we can introduce more. But actually for the particular industry, for this digital power industry, actually for the digital transformation, I think the main message or the main is that how we can help our customer to solve their problems, to solve the existing problems. What's the key pain point? So that's why we provide the digital transformation technology to them. I think currently they have, as I mentioned before, the low efficiency for the lead acid battery. Then we change to the new battery. And second is that the battery provider they may have not so much experiences in how to control the battery, control the solar panel, when to charge the battery, when to release the battery. So this is the key technology of Huawei, and we have some patents here, we have some unique algorithm here, and then we solve the problems to the customers. So for this unique particular industry, for the digital power, is what we can do to help our customer to solve the problems using the digital transformation. And for other areas, of course, we have seen a lot of digital transformations. We have seen a lot of benefits different companies brings to the to every people, and also for the every city, every country, the government. They also did a lot of things for the people to enjoy the benefit of the digital transformation. So that's why it's a very huge topic, and yeah, we can discuss later. Yeah, thank you.
I think, yeah, my mic is back on. It's definitely, certainly a very wide topic, and we try to, within this 1 and 15 hour, 70 minutes, that we try to cover a little bit of some parts of this digital transformation in general, because the main focus is to remind everyone we're looking at a digital transformation for decades. We're looking at a digital future. That's what we're aiming for, and the Kurdistan region we're taking small steps, but I believe we're on a good track. But we may not be like China, like other countries, developed countries. But we're trying to also learn from other countries, and that's why we try to look at how Huawei is providing those services for the Middle East in general. I also had another question actually for you, Mr. Jeff, and that is I'm particularly interested to hear your views on the progress towards clean energy, because that's one of the main focuses that you're working on. So how do you see the progress towards clean energy and generally in the Middle East using technologically advanced solutions?
Yes, actually for this one, I think there is Paris Agreement. Actually, more than 200 countries already signed this Paris Agreement. And I think for UAE, they signed the net zero strategy, I think until 2050. And for Saudi Arabia, maybe until 2060 to achieve the net zero. So if you want to realize this net zero strategy, you need to use the clean energy. It's a very hot topic in the recent years, and also some countries, especially in China, will realize the carbon neutral for the low carbon strategy also. So so that means in this particular industry, we have the bright future. Actually, we have lots of things to do. How to help different countries to realize their targets, how to help them to use the more clean energy. I think clean energy is not just use the new energy, just like how do you say the without carbon energy, just use the H2. Sorry, I forgot the English word. Just use the some air, just like this power. It's not just the clean energy. It's not just included this. Also, if you increase the efficiency of the power, you save more power. You increase the power efficiency comparing with their existing system. That's you move towards to the clean energy. That's also step by step move to the net zero strategy. So that's my understanding for this. Yes.
Thank you. And I believe the Gulf countries or the Middle East in general is definitely the right places to install solar panels, as considering our weather and conditions. So I believe it's the right places. It just needs a lot of digitalization that you provide, which makes it easier with all the electricity deficiency that we have. Thank you, Mr. Jeff. We'll come back in a bit to you, but first I would like to now go to Mr. Islam, because we all know that one of the main challenges for the banking industry in this region and perhaps also internationally is, well, let's say transparency, but also the lack of sufficient client protection tools. So I would like to focus on that a little bit to ask, how do you make account creation easy? How do you make that process easy for clients and customers while maintaining privacy protection, let's say?
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually a very good point. But before I address it, let me go back to the comment you mentioned. Sorry. Is it better now? Yeah. So let me go back to a point you mentioned about Kurdistan not catching up to the rest of the region or developed countries. In my eyes, at least, every country, and specifically Kurdistan, has its own challenges and opportunities. Using the experience from other countries and other places and trying to replicate that is not effective. We've seen that before. We have the luxury of learning from past experiences. The beauty of what's being done now in terms of the vision, in terms of the roadmap that the IT has put together is unique in its nature, that it's addressing the challenges in Kurdistan, but at the same time capturing opportunities and building the right ecosystem that is needed. Because once you put in the right levers in place, having the private sector tag onto that and then doing their own investment is a kind of the secret formula in my eyes. Because the participation of the private sector in this journey is extremely, extremely important. And is it a big investment? Yes. Is it risky? Of course. But at the same time, having the guidance, having the vision of the government is paramount. And they have done, in my eyes, an amazing job in charting a different path and using solutions that are unique to Kurdistan. When you look at that and you look at the challenges faced and where the region was, I would say 5-6 years ago, you look at the level of progress, and that is nearly unparalleled compared to other countries. So when I look at other countries and I see what they did, it's not apples to apples. I cannot compare it. I cannot compare it. And that kind of serves as a good segue into your question about the customer privacy, customer protection, account onboarding. The main challenge that citizens face today is their ability to open a simple bank account that allows them to transact and use their hard-earned money to pay for government services or for private sector services, or to transact among each other. If memory serves me right, there is around $5 billion of transactions occurring within the entire economy of Iraq that is done through social media platforms like the likes of Facebook and Instagram. And all of that volume is going through cash, through sales channels of cash. And managing that alone is nearly a nightmare for the service providers, for the freelancers, or for the private business owners. And trying to move the cash back and forth not only is a burden, but also is bad for business itself. So solving that pain point is extremely, extremely important. Giving the ability to citizens to transact from the convenience of their own home. But you can't get to that level without having the right framework and the right mindset within the regulatory environment, within the government. And that is, I think, we take it for granted today, but it has been a very, very long path until we got here. And being here today allows us to capitalize and explore opportunities as they arise, simply because the system was built right and the mindset is correct. So the focus today is on trying to make the customer experience as seamless as possible and as automated as possible as well, and at the same time minimize the cost to the bare minimum, so that you don't let the customer bear that cost of the transaction itself, and then on top of it offer conventional banking services from loans, credit, to any sort of a conventional banking product that you can offer through the platform. And all of that is geared towards maintaining data protection and data privacy. When a customer signs up today, their information is heavily encrypted, goes through closed channels, and the data center of that information is contained within the boundaries of Kurdistan itself, and will never leave those geographic boundaries, simply because we want to future-proof ourselves and also be in compliance with any future regulations that might come online in the future and lead the way. Data is extremely, extremely important. It is, in my eyes, it's a next oil that we can capitalize on. And to do that, you need the right infrastructure. And privacy is extremely important. I can go into specific detail on what we're trying to accomplish in terms of privacy, but having dual-side encryption and having your data center on the ground and working really, really closely with the government, having open channels allows you to have that transparent yet heavily secured network.
Is my mic on? Yes, thank you. Very interesting, thank you very much. But we are still, because you spoke of private sector, and that was also actually one of my next questions, because I wanted to focus on, look at how FIB is involved in supporting, providing access to finance or investments, because we know that those are one of the main challenges, let's say, for startups specifically and for private sector growth in general in the Kurdistan region and Iraq as a whole. What does FIB do in that area? Do you provide such access and support? Are you planning? And I know, again, that you're launching tomorrow, but we are still trying to understand a little bit about FIB, and we look forward to understand more, of course, tomorrow.
No, absolutely, absolutely. The pilot program that we've launched over the past few months enabled us to see that what we had initially envisioned is actually the correct goal, and that is, as a bank, your core service should be not to be the sole provider of service, but to aggregate services around you. So you'll build that ecosystem. You're given the ability, you're given the chance, and you're given the right framework to operate, and you do the investment, you build the right platform. Next comes the challenging part of building the ecosystem around your banking services. And by that I mean having open channels with all service providers, so that you don't become the only service provider within that specific element. But in fact, you open up your platform to allow others to integrate with you, so that not only do you provide the service to your service provider, okay, and become an aggregator in a sense, but also offering a wide platform and portfolio, of services to your customer. If I can compare it to how the two giants like Apple and Google and Huawei did with their app stores, that in a sense that was the goal. if you want to develop it all yourself, it's going to take you decades. But instead of doing that, you allow others to work with you and build an ecosystem, and that will allow the benefit to multiply. Now, having that right mindset allowed us to offer services to startups and SMEs alike at near zero cost. If anything, I can say it's zero. But over time, obviously, you need to at least cover the cost of the bank. Letting people whether that's private citizens or businesses transact and have the ability to move capital back and forth will allow them to worry less about managing the money front and focus on running the business itself. Because at the end of the day, you're limited by the number of resources you have as a business. So you either spend that amount of resources managing your cash, managing your capital, or running your business. But if you're offering those services in a very seamless and automated way, that will give the SMEs or the startups the ability to focus on developing their own products, developing their own services. And if I can mention a few examples, when we have the types of accounts today, whether it's business or whether it's personal, both of them are completely free of charge. You can open the account, you can open it from the convenience of your home. And if you're a business, you need to do your conventional KYC. We can open an account for you literally in one single day. Unheard of in Kurdistan. And that enables us to basically offer them the chance to start enjoying those services as soon as possible so that they can shift their focus to working on their own products and launching their own businesses. So from an investment point of view, from a financing point of view, that will be done through FIB and the partners of FIB. But offering the platform is the main goal, giving the platform and enabling SMEs and startups. That's the focus.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Islam. Very clear to me, and I hope it's very clear also to our audience, but we will leave around 50 minutes towards the end for Q&A, questions and answers. So if something is unclear, we hope that you will ask your questions at that time. I will come back to Mr. Hiwa, because one of the systems, let's say, that you're also working on, that we've recently heard a lot about is KFMS. And that stands for Kurdistan Financial Management System. You also mentioned it a little bit before. I believe that's a modernized way to manage the public finances, which means less or no more paper-based finance management, let's say, which also tells us that I believe that it's a way to prevent corruption. Am I right? So that's a point where I would like to focus on, and I believe it might be interesting for our audience also to understand how is this coming along, this system? What stage is it at? Could you tell us a little bit about that? And then I would like also to know actually what are the most tangible effects that this system will have on the government and also public citizens, for example.
Sure. Again, can you hear me, everyone? Great. Excellent. So, if you remember, we said that one of the core government functions is actually public financial management system. We need to know how we are spending the public money and how we are managing that. In the past, first of all, financial management system is a very complex system. It has multiple stakeholders. Almost every ministry is a stakeholder. It has over 1,500 users that need to work on it. It has different modules. One of the modules is how different government entities are asking for money to spend on something. The other module is going to be logging all the revenues that come to the system. We have to know how we are getting money, how we are spending it, and then we will have analytic tools on top of that. What KFMS does is, first of all, it makes things transparent and clear. Everyone every ministry that asks for something to be purchased, they need to fill in the required information. And that automatically, without paper, goes directly to the Ministry of Finance. In the Ministry of Finance, They digitally work on the spend requests, they process it. If it is rejected, it is clear why it is rejected. If it's accepted, it's very clear why it is accepted, and it goes through a very nice workflow. That prevents fraud, that prevents corruption, it makes it transparent, but it also makes the system very efficient and fast and paperless. And that's only one module of it. So far, the government has spent or has saved more than $500 million by using this system. Right now, we are able to pay salaries because we have cut and patched where government was bleeding in terms of finances. We used to pay billions of dollars every year for spend requests that were not accounted for. Now we know exactly. The other benefit of the system is now that we know what we are spending on, so basically you have data, then you can make it more efficient. If I'm buying, for example, 1 million bottles of water every year for our government entities, then maybe I can strike a deal with certain providers. I tell them, listen, I'm buying so many bottles of water from you, I'm no longer paying the full price, I want to pay 50% or get discount, and that translates into hundreds of millions of dollars every year. So basically, financial management system is one of the, and this is very important for all of us to know, according to the government maturity index, GovTech maturity index, having a public financial information management system is one of the key indicators. Basically, if you do not have it, you automatically rank very low in the maturity index. So that is what the KFMS is about. It's a great tool. It's very complex, and right now it is in version 4, if I'm not correct. Soon we are going to deploy. We have our excellent team in the back. Soon we are going to deploy the version 5 of it. And with every version, I mean, it's not a tool that we develop only once. We continuously change it, versions, and in the next version, we are going to add a lot of new features to it and capture a lot of other channels of expenditure into it. And the payroll will also feedback data into it. Basically, with that system, we will log all the money that we pay, and we also log all the money that we get.
Very clear, Kakio, and that's actually something very interesting to hear, because I believe that was not in place before, and to have such a transparent method of cutting finances but also providing the finances is a great way to start with the whole digitalization process.
A lot of people are now happy about it. A lot of governmental officials are not happy about it, because KFMS by default controls. It does not allow any favors. No one can call an analyst say, "Awambo Berwena." You get it? So that's why systems that control usually are not loved by the government official, but they are loved by the leadership who need to get money to be spent on the government.
That's actually, Kakio, you answered a little bit of one of my next questions, which was because we talked about the services that the IT works on, and I actually need to be a little bit brief in time, so I'm trying to conclude also with this question. And that's it. So we spoke about the systems, but I want us to also look at how is it then enrolling into the execution and implementation to the relevant ministries and government entities. What is that cooperation like? And last but not least, because I need to conclude very soon, they're telling me we're running out of time, and we try to also provide some time for Q&A. And that is, last but not least, let's talk about the future as well, because we're talking about the moment being, but we also need to look at, in 5 years from now, in your perspective, in the eyes of the government, what does it look like for the Kurdistan region? How is the digital transformation going to look like in 5 years from now? What is the plan or the digital strategy, let's say?
This is a very good question, and I'm glad that you're asking it. And it might be a little bit ambitious to your ears, but if we continue at this pace, and if we have the support of the leadership on digital the way we have it now, our vision is for KRG to be among top governments in the Middle East when it comes to the digital transformation and digital solutions. Kurdistan region does not have a huge population. We are not dealing with a hundred of millions of people. Our population is relatively small, and that's a great advantage because we can easily manage smaller countries. If you look at the most advanced countries in the world when it comes to digital, you will find smaller countries are the most advanced one. For example, Estonia, with a population of 1.2 million people, is the most advanced country in the world. And that goes back to the fact that smaller populations are easier to manage, are easier to deliver services to. Whereas you have huge countries with huge populations, like the US or France or even Germany, they cannot even compare them to Estonia. So I believe it's not far-fetched. If we continue like this in the next, not only 5 years, I would say the next 3 years, we will transform the Kurdistan region in a way that you would have never imagined. And again, have a look at our booth. You will see how the citizen will log in, how easy it will be for them to interact with the systems. You don't even need to see anyone to do your business anymore. And hopefully we can also bring you into a metaverse, if that becomes a thing of future, that you can also virtually meet any government entity or official and services.
Very good. Thank you very much, Kakiwa. And I believe if you don't have any final remarks, I will continue with closing remarks to Mr. Jeff, and unless you have anything to add.
Hello. I just want to thank you so much for the opportunity. It's very hard. I think we said more than enough, and I leave this stage to my fellow panelists.
Thank you very much. If you can give us, Mr. Jeff, your closing remarks, if you have anything to add. I need to be short. We're short on time. That's why I had other questions, but we'll leave that to some other time, hopefully. But if you can tell us briefly any closing remarks that you have.
Yes, first of all, very honored to be here, invited by HITEX and come to Iraq, and then we have booths here presenting our solutions. So inviting all of the guys and come to our booth, then we can have further discussion. And second thing I want to say, now when we talk about the digitalization, some governments, most of the government, they have already realized the benefits of digitalization, and they already take the responsibility to improve the digitalization. So what Huawei can do is just to enable them and help the government who have the responsibility, and then having them in their behind, and then to do this digitalization. And of course, for some vertical industries like the bank, they want to improve the user experiences. They want to do the digitalization. They already realize it. So we just provide the suitable, customized solution to them, advanced solution to them, and then together we help our partners, help our customers to realize this target. So that's all. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much again for joining us in this panel today. Mr. Islam, your final remarks, please.
Sure, I'll be very brief, short of time. Well, thanks a lot to you and Kahawa and my esteemed colleague here for coming in today. And I can say that we're very, very thankful and grateful for the opportunity and the system that was put in place for us to operate today. And the burden is on us today to execute and deliver the services that we're going to deliver. And all I can say is that the future is bright.
Indeed, that's what we like to bear in mind. The future is bright, and it's a lot digitalized, let's say. I just need to know how many questions do we have time to take? How many questions? What? 5? 5 minutes. Okay, thank you very much. We try to take as many questions that we can in 5 minutes, but if anyone would like to ask any of the panelists something, please state your name and who the question is directed to. The gentleman over there, yes, please.
بیلالی وەکو وەرزشوانێک بەشدارم دەمەوێت لە کاگی هیوا و پرسیارە بکەم باسی کرد کە ئەوان پلانی زۆریان هەبوو بۆ ئەوەی بیانەوێ حکوومەت بە ئەلکترۆنی بکەن و شتەکان ئاسانکاری بکەن بەڵام دیارە بە هۆکارەکان ڕێگیری کراوە ئایا هیچ بەدیلێک هەیە بۆ ئەوەی بیانەوێ شێوازی ئیشکردنی حکوومەت باشتر بکەن لە ڕووی تەکنەلۆژیاوە؟
Is the question clear?
I'm not sure I understood the question.
I was also a little bit confused. ببورە ئەگەر بتوانی یەک تۆز ڕوونی بکەیتەوە پرسیارەکەت؟
کاکی واژن بورە دەمەوێت بزانم ئایا ئێوە لە شێوازی ئەوەی کە پێشکەشی حکوومەتتان کردووە هیچ بەدیلێکی ترتان هەیە پلانی ترتان هەیە کە ئیشی لەسەر بکەن ئیشەکانی حکوومەت زیاتر بە دیجیتاڵی بکەن؟ سوپاس.
Do you want me to answer now?
Yes, please.
زۆر سوپاس بۆ پرسیارت. ئەمە لەو شتەی کە ئێستا لەو شێوازەی کە ئێستا حکوومەت خزمەتگوزارەکانی پێشکەش بە هاوڵاتیەکان رازی نینە ئەوە لە ئاستی خودی جەنابی سەرۆک وەزیران و جگری سەرۆک وەزیرانەوەیە بۆیش ئەمانەوێت پرۆسەی بە دیجیتالکردن خێراتر بکەین. ئێمە لە حاڵی حاضرە خەریکین سیستەمەکانی کۆر ئەوەی کە لەناو خودی حکوومەتەوە هاوڵاتی نیای بێنێتە بێکەم جاراوانە تەواو بکەین و دواتر دەست پێ بکەین ئەو خزمەتگوزارانی کە هاوڵاتی ئەیبینێتن ئەوەنە بە دیجیتال بکرێن. یەک لەو شتانێک کە ئاماژەم پێدا گوتم لە بووسەکەی ئێمە لە دەستپێکە سیرکەن ئەوە نمونەیەکە کە تۆ لە ئایندە چۆن ئەتوانی خزمەتگوزارەکانت لە ماڵەوە ئاکسس بکەیت، چۆن ئەتوانی لۆگین بی، چۆن ئەتوانی مەسەن پارەی ئاو و کارەبا بی یان چۆن ئەتوانی موچەی خۆت وەربگری لە بووسی ژمارە یەک لە دەستپێکە دێتە ژوورەوە لەگەڵ تیمەکانی ما بڕۆ بیبینە ئەوە ڕۆیەی مەیە بۆ ئایندە.
زۆر سپاس بە هیوایەوەی کە وەڵامەکەت دەستکەوت بێ. پرسیارێکی تر لێرەوە ئاگا ئەزەت نییە؟ بەس مایکەکەی یارمەتی بەن ئازەت نەبێ.
السلام عليكم من لارم ديفلوبر پرسیارێکم هەیە دەربارەی ئەو کەسانەی کەوا بەرپرسن لە حکوومەت و لە جامیعەکان تا چەندێ ئێوە دامی ئەو مەشاریعانەکەن و تەلەبەی مەرحەلە چوار دروستێکە یان تا چەند ئێوەیان لێ ئەکەن مەشروعێ دروستکەن لە دوای ئەوەی کە تەواویان کرد نەچێتە هەروە شۆنێکی هاکەزایی و دیار نەمێنێ بۆچی یعنی ئیسپادە لەو هەموو توانایی تەلەبەکان ناکەن بەکاری بێنن ئیستیغلالیکەن بۆ ئەوەی ئەو شتانی خۆتان پێویستانە دروستیکەن لە هەمان کاتە تەلەبەش ئەو هەموو شتەی دروستەکە هەروە هاکەزایی ناچێت و بزر بێ.
پرسیارەکە بۆ کاکیوە and apologies Mr. Jeff that is transitioning a little bit into Kurdish now.
So all the criticism is here. زۆر سوپاس. یەکەم شت هەموو ئەو سیستەمانەی کە ئێمە دروستیەکەین لە فەرمانگە حەزەکەم بزانی هەر هەمووی بەدەستی ئەو خەریجە زانکۆانەی کوردستان دروستکەوە لێرە دانیشتن زۆربەیان و لێرە لە منە بجایتە زۆر سوپاسیان بکەم. یعنی ئێوە لە زانکۆ کە تەخەڕۆژەکان ئەگەر بێت و ئەو پرۆفایلەتان هەبێت کە ئەمە پێویستیان پێیەتی ئەوە ڕاستەخۆی یەکەم جار هەر لەگەڵ ئێمە ئیشەکەن و ئەوەی کە ئینتەرویوشتان ئەکات هەر ئەوانن کە لە زانکۆ دەرچوون یعنی من ئینتەرویوتان ناکەم هەر خەریجەکانی خۆتان ئەوەی کە ئێستا ڕۆڵی قیادەی ڕابەراتی ئەو پرۆسەیەکەن هەر ئەوان ئینتەرویوتان ئەکەن. بیرۆکەکانتان ئەگەر بیرۆکەکانتان زۆر باش بن و بگات ئەو مەرحەلەی کە دڵنیا بینەوە کە حکوومەت پێویستی پێێتی هەر ئەو بیرۆکانە تەبەنیەکەین و ئەکرێنەوە بە پرۆژە. زۆر لەو شتانێ ئێستا ئەمە لە فەرمانگایەکەین PIS سیستم ئەو سیستمانی کە بەکاردینەوە بیرۆکەی ئێوە بووە کە ئەو تەڵەبانەی کە تەخەڕوجیان کردوسە ئیش لەگەڵ ئێماکەن هەر ئەوان ئەو بیرۆکانان هێنەوە و هەر خۆشیان جێبەجێیان کردووە.
دەست خۆش کاکیوە پێچێت لەوە پرسیارەکان زۆرترین بۆ تۆ بێت بە حکومەوەی کە لە حکوومەت بنیۆنەرایەتی حکوومەتی با بڵێن. خاتون پرسیاری ترە هەبوو؟
ئەوەیان بەنسبەتی تەلەبەوە ئەی بەنسبەتی مامۆستاوە یعنی بۆ نمونە کەسێک کە ئەچێتە بەشی سۆفتوەر ئینجینێرینگ ئەنتەرنێتی هەیە سێرەکە ئەو هەموو مەجالە هەیە ئەتوانێت شتێ بکە یان نەکە چۆن مامۆستاکان بە شێوەیەک دەدرێ بێ شتێکیان ئەدەنێ تاوەکو کەسەکان ڕێنوێنی کا بۆ پاتێ خۆتان نەزانن پاسی زۆر هەیە ئێستا لە ئینجینێرینگ سۆفتوەر ئینجینێرینگ دیڤلۆپینگی ویبسایت هەیە موبایل هەیە زۆر شت هەیە بۆی لێتە کەسێک کە خۆی دەست پێ بکات جاری بچێتە مەجالێ یان نەزانێت چۆن دەست پێ بکات بەتەواتی خاسن لە تەلەبەی کولیەوە چۆن ئێوە ینی وەرە مامۆستاکانەکەن کاتێک ئەوان یان ئایدیەیەکیان هەبێ یاخود لەو تەمەنەیان کاتەکەیان هەروان نەڕوە یان کە ئەیانەوەی ئینتەرشپێ وەرگرن یارمەتیاندان لە شەریکاتەکانی لۆکاڵ ئۆر ئینتەرنەشنال تەقدیم بکەن شتێکیان دەستکەوێ تاوەکو ئەو کاتەیان هەروان نەڕوە شتێ بە شتێ بکەن یعنی ئەو هەموو فری تایمەی هەیەە شتێک ئیسپادە بکەن بۆ خۆیان و بۆ دەرەوەش و لە هەمان کاتە کەسێ هەبێ ڕێنوێنیاکە من خۆم ماوەیەکی زۆر پاسم گۆڕیوە لە ئایۆتی دەکا سناعی دیڤلۆپمینگی وێب باک هەموو شتێک لەبەرەوەی کەسێک نەبوو پێم بڵێ ئەوێ بگرە ئەوە دانەیە بگرە هەلە خۆم شتی زۆر زیاتر مەکرد سۆ یعنی کاتێک کە مەشروعێکشم هەبوو بردم بۆ مامۆستاکەم کە زۆرش گەورە بوو وتی ئەوە شتی گەورەکانە واز لەوە بێنە سۆ ئێوە چۆن سەپۆرتی ئەو جۆرە شتاناگەن سوپاس
دەست خۆش کاکیوە وازەح بوو
زۆر سپاس لە فەرمانگەی تەکنۆلۆژیە زانیاری ئێمە تیمێکمان هەیە یونیتێکمان هەیە تایبەت بە outreach and capacity building تیمێکمان هەیە ئێمە بڕوانگەمان وایە یەکەم شت ئەمە وەکو فەرمانگە ناتوانین تاسیر لەسەر هەموو مواسساتی کوردستان بکەین لە ڕووی تالیمیوە بە خۆتان نەزانن کە ئەوە بابەتێکی زۆر جەوهەری و گرنگە ئەبێ لە مستەوایەکی ترەوە دەراسە بکرێت بەڵام ئێمە لە فەرمانگەی خۆمان یونیتێکی تایبەتمان هەیە تیمێکی تایبەتمان هەیە کە تایبەتە بە پەیوەندیکردن و علاقە دروستکردن لەگەڵ زانکۆکان بۆ ئەوەی ئێمە بتوانین تەئسیر لەسەر شێوازی پەروەردە و دەرزانەوەی تەڵەبەکان بکەین لە بواری ئایتی بۆچی بۆ ئەوەی یەک زۆر زوو بزانین ئەو ئەگەر مەسەن ئەو مامۆستایانە یان ئەو زانکۆیە خەریکە شتێک پێشانی ئەو تەلەبانەدات کە ئەو شتە لە ئەسم بەکار نایێتەوە ڕایگرین شتێک ئەگەر مهمە ئەوانە فێر بن لە ئێستارە بخرێتە بەرنامەی خوێندنیانەوە یعنی تاسیری مە لەسەر ئەوەی کە جەناب بوو تەنها ئەوەیە کە بتوان لە ڕێگای زانکۆکانەوە تاسی لە کوریکۆلۆمەکە بکەین و هەروەها گەشتی زۆر دروستە بێت لە بەنی زانکۆکان کە دەن سەردانی فەرمانگەی ئێماکەن بۆی کە بزان چۆن ئیشەکرێت و دەبێت بۆچی ئامادە بن ینی بەداخەوە لەوە زیاتر لەو مەرحەلێ من ناتوانین یارمەتی زانکۆکان بدەین و مامۆستاکان بدەین بەڵام کراوەینە هەموو کاتێک بۆ بیرۆکەکان بۆ ئایدیاکان تەبەنی بیرۆکانەکەین لەگەڵیان دانیشین بەڵام شێوازەکە بەو شێوازەیە کە تیمێک ئەبێ مفاتحی ئەو زانکۆکان ناکات و دەرگاشمان کراوەیە بۆ هەموو زانکۆکان و مواسسەی تعلیمی ئەگەر ڕاوێژمان پێ بکەن یان بیانەوێت سەردارمان بکەن
دەست خۆش کاکیوە بە هیوایەوەی وەڵامەکە دەستکەوت بێت فەرموو کاک بروس
Hello. This is Bruce from DIT. I had a question for Mr. Islam. Is there any plans, very briefly, for interoperability within the wallets and the digital banking services, including FIB, NAS Wallet, the other ones? Because I guess that's a very important thing to address, especially that if you allow people to connect their accounts to a specific wallet, interoperability becomes a huge question. Thank you very much.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you for the question. It's at the core of what we're trying to accomplish. Like I mentioned before, having exclusivity on a platform is the path to death. If you do that, you're killing your platform. The idea is to have as many connections as possible and have the ability for people to move their cash the way they want it and using the method they like. Whether that's being connected through a card scheme, whether it's a digital wallet, a bank transfer, or even through a point of cash. The ultimate goal is to reduce the cash usage in society as much as possible and be as digital based as humanly possible. Obviously, we'll always have this element of buffer of cash. That transition is hard. It's not easy. It takes a lot of time. And but the roadmap can be charted, and having the right partners in place allows you to do that. If you're alone, you'll never be able to achieve it. You need the right partners around you. You need the right service providers. But just to answer your question, obviously that is definitely a priority. And having that ability will allow us to not only enhance the platform itself, but also increase competitiveness across the entire banking sector. Because we believe if you're doing the right thing and you're investing a lot of resources, not just money, a lot of resources in it, then being the survival after this journey should be well earned by the best player.
Thank you, Mr. Islam. I hope that answers your question. The gentleman over there, yes, please.
زۆر سپاس پرسیارێکم بۆ کاکیوا هەیە کاکیوا لە بواری سایبەر سکیوریتی چیتان بۆ پێگە و سیستەمەکانی حکوومەتی هەرێمی کوردستان کردووە یاخود کۆمەڵە گەنجمان هەیە لە ناو خۆی کوردستان کە تا ئێستا کار بۆ کۆمپانیای نێودەوڵەتەکانی وەک تویتەر و یاهو ئەمریکا دەکەن لێرە سوودیان لێ وەرگیرێ باشتر نییە لە بڕی ئەوەی کار بۆ وڵاتانە دیکە بکەن
بە خۆتان دەزان کە سایبەر سیکیوریتی دەستەواژەیەکی زۆر ئەوەیە ینی واسعە لەناو سایبەر سیکیوریتی زۆر دایمنشن هەیە کە دەبێت دیار بکرێت کە باسی کامە دایمنشن دەکەین هەر سیستەمێک کە لە حکوومەت دپلۆی دەکرێت بێست پراکتیسەکانی سایبەر سیکیوریتی تێدا ڕەچاو دەکرێت بای دیفۆڵت یعنی شێوازی هۆستکردنەکە نووسینی کۆدەکان ئۆپەرێشنەکانی ئێمە ئەمپلۆیی سیکیوریتی دواتر لە هۆستکردن دڵنیابوونەوە لەوەی کە بەردەست دەبێتن و نابێتە قوربانی دیدۆس ئەتاک و ئەوانە ئەوەنە هەمووی ڕەچاو دەکرێتن ئەوەی کە جەنابەت باسەکەی زیاتر پێدەچیت بەکارهێنانەوەی توانایی گەنجەکانمانە لە بۆ دەفەنسیڤ سیکیوریتی وانە بەعام لە دنیا هەر بە شێوازێکی گشتی لە هەموو جیهان کەمیەک هەیە لە ژمارەی ئەو کەسانەی کە دەتوانن لە دەفەنسیڤ سیکیوریتی ئیش بکەن ئێستا لە کوردستان مخۆم شەخسەن گوێم لە نەبووە کە کوردێک تا ئێستا دەفەنسیڤ سیکیوریتی سەرتیفاید بێتن و من بینی بێتن من نەمبینیوە بەڵام هەر کەسێک کە دەفەنس سیکیوریتی سەرتیفایدە هەر کەسە کە تۆ بۆ ئەوەی کە لە سایبەر سیکیوریتی زیرەک بی تۆ ئەبێ لە زۆر مەجاڵە خۆت ئەکسپەرت بی یعنی تۆ ئەبێ لە نێتوەرکینگ دەبێت لێڤەلەکەت ئەتلیست لە CCNP سەرەوەتر بی لە مەجای سۆفتوێر دەڤەلۆپمەنت دەبێت زۆر ئاگات شارەزابی کە بتوانی چونکو ینی ئەوەی کە دەتە سیکیوریتی ئەوەی کە تۆ بزانی نقاتی زعفی سۆفتوێرت لەکوێ نقاتی زعفی نێتوەرکەکەت لەکوێ نقاتی زعفی پۆلیسیەکەت لەکوێ ئەبێ خۆت ئەکسپەرت بیت ئەوجا هەر شتێک ئەمە ئەیکەین لەسەر بێست پراکتیسە لەسەر بەکارهێنانەوەی نوێترین و دواترین سیستەمەکان کە بەکاردینەوە و لە حاڵی حاضریشدا ئیش لەسەر استراتیجیکی تایبەت بە سایبەر سیکیوریتی دەکەین یعنی لە استراتیجی دیجیتال ترانسفۆرمیشن جیاکراوەتەوە بەهۆی قەبارە گەورەکەی ئێمە ئێستا خەریکین سایبەر سیکیوریتی استراتیجی حکوومەتی هەرێمی کوردستان دادەڕێژین و ئەگەر کەسێکیش لەو مەجالەیە خۆی بە خەبیر ڕەزانێتن من تکای لە یەکەم بە پەیوەندیمان پێوە بکات تیمەکانی فەرمانگەمان بە خۆشحاڵیوە ئینتەرویویەکەن و دەتوانن ببن بەشێک لە تیمەکانی فەرمانگە ئەوجا چ وایت هات بن چ ڕێد هات بن بە بەخێر بن
دەست خۆش زۆر سپاس یەک پرسیاری تر وەرەگرین we'll take one more question yes final question please
Thank you. My question is for Mr. Islam. So in the past few years, we've seen a lot of international ventures coming into the country and investing a lot into the new app industry. So my question here is, why is it that the local ventures like the banks and the supporters of the app industry only invest a fractions of the amount of what the international community is spending? And once the locals are starting with an idea and probably get a support of $30,000 to $50,000 and they go in to implement the idea, but suddenly you got an international company coming in with millions of dollars and taking over the market in an instance. So what is your ceiling of investment to trying to prevent international apps trying to conquer the market instead of local apps? And by the way, my name is Aras Adam. I am from Dalali Marketplace. Thank you.
Pleasure meeting you. That's actually a very good question because I wanted to follow up on the previous question. We are at FIB. We are developing all of our technology in-house. The entire banking platform, the maintenance of it, and the future development, and anything else that we see from this point on is developed in-house here in Kurdistan. Obviously, with some backing of other resources. That alone will enable us to open the door for local talent to go through the human development cycle. And we strongly believe in that. We have a human development program, and we believe that capitalizing on that opportunity will allow us to benefit from the local talent and at the same time allow the ecosystem to flourish. What we want to see later on is FIB alumnus being some of the founders of very extremely interesting startups or other ventures. That is the overarching goal, hopefully. But to answer your question is our focus today is offering the best service available while maintaining the other elements in the background and also within our thinking, including the human development part for sure. If we want to offer services today, we have to build the right platform, build the right infrastructure. And for you to do that, you need to revert to existing solutions that allows you to deploy really fast and build on it. If you want to start everything from scratch, it will take you a lot of time. The opportunity is there, but the window is short. And like you mentioned, you don't want foreign players to come here and serve that purpose. You want them to come here and be your partner, like Huawei today. That mindset allows you to build the ecosystem. The idea is like you build multiple components of the same system that allows you to offer the ability to your customers, whether that customer is a business, retail, point of cash, etc., to build on their existing network and expand while having the kind of the backing of their partner bank. That's the ability. Now, whether you want to introduce new platforms or new apps or new services, I can tell you for a fact that no matter how big a foreign player is, no one knows the local market like you. No one knows how to capitalize on it, and no one knows how to approach it aside from the local player themselves. And what they need is enablement, and from our side, we can give the financial enablement, financial ability, the flexibility to operate, and that will at least cover a small part of what they need to accomplish. But I don't, in my eyes, I've seen it so many times. A foreign player can come in, they invest a lot of money, and if they don't see any appetite, they would leave. But the local player is there; it's their home, it's their land, and they will not wait until, and they will not finish. They will keep on going, and they keep on fighting. It's unlike a foreign player. So I disagree. This is your fair ground. All you need is the right partners, and if you look hard, you'll find them.
Thank you very much, Mr. Islam. I hope that answers the question. And I have to wrap up, unfortunately, but to our audience, the booths of Huawei, of DIT, they're all here. There are many other booths as well, as you can see. If you have any further questions, please go to the booth and you can communicate with the team directly. Thank you to our dear panelists. Thank you very much for joining us and for your highly valued contribution. Thank you to our audience for listening and joining this first panel. Thank you.